Hey everyone, Reaper here again. This time I'm making another part in my comic book collecting series that I seem to be moving along with. This particular part, is probably going to be several different parts to this. The first part being the one I'm doing right now. Basically, where I look over some books that I really enjoy in my collection, like a Reaper's Picks, so to speak, for those out there that are looking to buy key books, right? And, because there are so many of them out there to get, you could be so overwhelmed for those collectors out there that are looking to buy some key books and are not quite sure which ones to get. You might have a long list or which ones to get first. This series will serve to almost be somewhat of a guide. Books that are in my collection that were showcased in earlier hauls, like for instance, the books that I have picked out now. For each one of these episodes, I'll do 3 books, and I'll talk a little bit about them. Some I might talk a little bit more about, but why I wanted them, why they're in my collection, why they're significant to me, that sort of stuff. So maybe that might help some new collectors that are looking to buy key books narrow down on a search on what they might want to collect and why. So, like I said, I picked out 3 books from earlier hauls. I believe the ones that I picked out, um, 2 of them were from my third comic book haul, which came out 3 years ago, October, and the other one I have here came out comic book haul number 2. So I figured that's where I would start, showing off some books that were in earlier hauls that maybe did not get too much attention. Now I could narrow it down a little bit and talk in length about why I like these books and why I purchased them. So the first one that I want to talk about, and I'm going to put it over here because this is where you get the least amount of glare. As you can see here, for those of you that don't know what this is, like I said, new collectors trying to get into the hobby. This is Batman 232. The significance of it is the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul, or Raj al Ghul. I've heard different ways to pronounce it. But here we are. This is an awesome Neal Adams cover here. When Neal Adams was drawing Batman, this was definitely, he had many great covers, as many of you may know. But this was definitely one of the best, not the best. I have my personal pick on what I think the best one was from his run. But this is definitely one of the more iconic ones. Beautiful colors. The use of the green and the way Ra's al Ghul's in the back is just looming over Batman and Robin. A real intimidating, awesome cover. Now, the reason why, I got this back, I showcased this. I've had this for several years, but I showcased this in Comic Book Haul number 3. That crappy Halloween haul I did. Now, the reason why Ra's al Ghul, for anybody out there that's looking to get into key books, the reason why you would want to purchase this particular book is because it is, once again, the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul. So it's a key issue. It's a key first appearance, a key villain in Batman mythos. Ra's al Ghul was one of the villains that was introduced during the Bronze Age of Batman that really stood the test of time. A lot of the Batman villains really got their start in the Golden Age. Real well-known ones like the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, Two-Face, and so forth. And the villains that sometimes came after them, in my opinion, were not always as good, except for Mr. Freeze, because he came in the Silver Age. But there were only a handful that really, I think, stood the test of time that came after the Golden villains. And I certainly think that Ra's al Ghul is at the top of that list. So if you're looking for a key, I would say more affordable, big Batman villain. I'm not talking like Bane, because Bane, even though he's a pretty big Batman villain, I don't think he's as big as someone like Ra's al Ghul. So if you're out there, you want to start a Batman collection, and you're looking to get key Batman books, affordable Batman books, um, I would definitely look into getting a Ra's al Ghul. You may not get a 7.5. I mean, that's a somewhat low end, high end, a low high grade copy. There are obviously much higher grades out there, but if those are too expensive for you, there's nothing wrong with getting a 4.0. You know, because if you saw my video about low grades and how I pick low grades, there's nothing wrong with getting a 4.0 or what you can afford. Regardless, it's definitely a good book to have, and definitely one worth holding on to, because I think it does present a certain value that the book will keep. My introduction, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about this before I move on to the next book. One of the reasons why I got it, I already discussed its first appearance of Ra's al Ghul. My introduction to Ra's al Ghul was through Batman the Animated Series in the early 90s. You know, back then I wasn't much of a DC collector, so I really didn't know too much about characters like Ra's al Ghul, Man-Bat, and others. I knew the classic Batman villains from the 66 show. So when I saw the episode, I think it was a two-parter, I think, two or three-parter, when Ra's al Ghul was introduced, I thought that was such a great episode, and episodes, they were great episodes, and the fact that those episodes followed this particular story pretty closely, I thought that was great. I always love it whenever I would see a TV adaptation or a movie adaptation on a comic book, and how they really follow the comic book story more or less. And I always enjoy seeing that. Even back from the early Tales from the Crypt TV series days, when I would see an episode, for instance, like Fitting Punishment, right? That was in the second season of Tales from the Crypt, and how in the Vault of Horror number 16, which is where the Fitting Punishment storyline first showed up, they followed it really closely, and I just like that sort of stuff. So that's one of the another reason why I really was why I gravitated toward this book, and obviously the Neal Adams cover and so forth. So it's definitely a good pick for those that are looking to get into a Batman collection. What to get? Good key villain to have, one to be proud of. Another one is another Batman book, and I know there's a lot of hype on this one. This one showed up in Comic Book Haul number 2. There we go. Detective Comics 359, the first appearance of Barbara Gordon as Batgirl. Now, there was another Batgirl that showed up. I think she was a relative of Batwoman, but I don't think she was nearly as popular as Barbara Gordon. Now, what made Barbara Gordon so popular was because she was on the 66 TV series. Like I said in a previous video, if a character showed up on that TV series, they were immortalized. They really were. You know, even the corniest character, which at the time was like Mr. Freeze, he was seen as a real corny character. He became part of pop culture. And of course, the animated series helped cement him as a serious, really cool Batman villain decades later. But Barbara Gordon is really, you know, if you read the new the new Batgirl series that's been going on for a couple of years, you know, she's really a popular character, really well developed, awesome character, and this is her first appearance, and it's also another classic cover by Carmine Infantino from the mid 60s. What year was this? Was this 67? So for those of you that are looking to really get a good supporting Batman character, someone who's part of the Batman hero family, that, well, I mean, I was about to say affordable. I don't know how affordable this is now, because I know since Joss Whedon is now making a Batgirl movie, this book sort of blew up a little bit, but for many years it was on the rise. Fortunately, I bought this a few years before that hype. But if you are looking to spend a decent amount of coin on a good support character that has, for those that are interested in investment or flipping down the line, that has potential, I would definitely say Barbara Gordon is high on that list for Batman support characters. She's not a villain. She's a very popular character. a lot of people in the Batman collectors really like Barbara Gordon, and it's always a she's always a character. This book in particular will always be something that would be sought out. So for those that are looking to flip and make a slight investment, I don't think you could really go wrong with getting this book as long as you don't pay a high amount for it. I mean, that might, like I said, that might be a little difficult to do at this point. But if you could snag one at a decent looking copy, decent grade, whether it's a high, low grade or mid grade. This is a mid grade copy, 6.0. I'd go for it. And it's also, for me, it's an awesome book to have in your collection. I'm a big Batman collector, and there's still a few big ones I need. I'll get those in time. But Barbara Gordon is definitely one to have in your collection. It's a really, really cool character, really cool book. The last one for this video, it's another one. This showed up in Comic Book Haul number 3. The first appearance, Tales of Suspense, House of Secrets 92. The first appearance of Swamp Thing. Now, right from the start, before we get into some other things, look at that cover. Bernie Wrightson at his best here. I just love this cover. And this was supposed to be Louise Simonson, I believe. Those of you in comics know who Louise Simonson is. She supposedly is the model here for this cover. Supposedly. But aside from that, look how the Swamp Thing is just looming in. A terrifying looking creature. I know you're getting a little bit of glare. Maybe I should take the Mylar bag off. But there you go. You could see it a little bit better. Such a creepy character. From the cover, at least. I was a Swamp Thing fan for many years before I even started collecting comics. Before I started becoming familiar with even long before I saw the Batman 66 series and the 89 Batman movie, I knew who Swamp Thing was. He was definitely one of those DC characters that I was well familiar with. And I was familiar with him because of I think it was 1982 movie by Wes Craven. I used to watch that all the time when I was a kid. It was on HBO and TV a lot back in the mid-80s. And that's where I became familiar with the Swamp Thing character. So when I started narrowing down on some DC characters, their first appearances, key books that I wanted to add to my collection, Swamp Thing was at the top of the list, and it was a book that I was really looking hard for to get. And I was able to get it, thankfully. This is a high mid-grade copy, a 6.5. But a beautiful cover. I mean, if there's any reason to have this in your collection to be proud of, it's because of this cover. It's a classic Bernie Wrightson cover. But once again, it's the first appearance of Swamp Thing. And again, it's another one of those books that's heating up. Not quite sure why, but, there's always talk of movies. I mean, look, you hear about TV series and all that stuff, movies that are coming out, comic book series that have an option to be a movie. It seems like every character, every comic book series seems to have an option to come out. So it's hard to really narrow down who's going to be in what movie. But for those that are looking for investment or flipping, like I said, you buy low. You buy low and you sell high. I mean, it doesn't make too much sense if you're a flipper or you're looking to sell the book pretty quickly to spend high and, try to sell it high. And it's probably not going to work out for the best. But if you're not into that sort of thing, you're like me, that's really into collecting, nice to have books in your collection to be proud of. You're looking to get into collecting some DC characters, cool DC characters. I would definitely say go with House of Secrets 92 if you could get one that's affordable, if you could get one that you're happy with. That's, I think, a definite win for you, win for your collection. Well, I'm going to end this video now. This was, like I said, the first episode of where I highlight a couple of books. I know there's a lot of YouTubers out there that I probably drew the inspiration for doing this, although I don't do it quite the way they do it. Guys like ETA Nick and Dr. Von Chilla and others. Sorry if I'm not mentioning you. That do an inside look. Oh, Batcave Comics 83. They do an inside look. They'll show a raw book and they'll open it page by page and they'll go over it and they'll show the awesome artwork and all that stuff. Those are great series to watch for those that want to actually get inside the book. So I like to sit here and talk about some books that really are meaningful in my collection, and these 3 are definitely meaningful. I'll have another video to come out soon where I highlight 3 more. But once again, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe. If you have a question or you want to leave a comment, please do so. They're always appreciated. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.